All right, we're about to start our next session. The next session is going to be run by Abiola David. Abiola is a Microsoft Excel, Power BI, and SQL Server and Tableau consultant, speaker, author, and blogger. A Microsoft Excel MVP, Abiola is the founder of ExcelJet Consult, a leading data analyst training firm located in Lagos, Nigeria. He has trained professionals both in public and private sector in Nigeria, and he loves to share his knowledge via blog posts, YouTube videos, answering questions on the Microsoft tech community, and other programs. Unfortunately, I don't think Abiola is joining us today, but please feel free to pop questions into the chat, and we will forward them on to him when we get the opportunity to. In the meantime, let's get going.
Hello and welcome to Excel Virtually Global 2022 conference. This is an amazing time and opportunity to learn from the leading Microsoft Excel MVPs and program managers from Microsoft. So the MVPs and the program managers will be delivering topics in Excel, financial modeling, dynamic arrays, Power Pivot, Power Query, and Power BI, among other topics. And this will be in English, Portuguese, and of course Spanish. So there is something for every one of us. Okay, all you need to do is to have your laptop and be ready to learn from these leading MVPs. So to be part of this program, all you need to do is to log on to excelvirtuallyglobal.com, and then you can click on the program and see the lineup of topics that will be discussed by the leading MVPs. And of course, we have the list of the MVPs here, so you can check them out. There are many familiar faces. Okay, and of course, you can click on the Access tab. In the Access tab, you can see that this program is totally free, and it is accessible through the link that will be provided on this platform. So all you need to do is make sure that on Monday the 17th and Tuesday the 18th of October at this time you are on this page, and you can have access to all these events free. No need to register, just check back and be ready to learn. So to my presentation, I'm going to be talking about classic Power Query and PivotTable tips and tricks. So my name is Abiola David. I'm a Nigerian and one of the Microsoft Excel MVP. So let's swipe over to Excel. Now in Excel, we've got this 6 data set. Now this 6 data set contains 6 columns: date column, payment, brand, unit, price, and the, let me call this one, total column. Now this data set is officially stored as an Excel table. In the table design tab, the name of the table has been renamed as F sales data. So our goal is very simple. We want to use Power Query and worksheet functions to create a report in this section for Power Query that will show unique payments, just like what we have here, unique brand, and then we're going to use Power Query to calculate the sum of units. This is column D, units by P&B. P&B simply means payments and brand. We're going to calculate sum of total by P&B, average of total by P&B, max of total by P&B, and minimum, that is mean, of total by P&B. So let's dive in without wasting our time. So what we're going to do is, we've got this data set in an Excel table as I explained earlier on, and we need to get it into the Power Query. And we need to get this data set into the Power Query. So there are 2 ways of getting the data set into the Power Query editor. First and foremost, you can click on the data tab of the ribbon under the get and transform data group. We've got from table /range here, or you can choose any value within the data set. Any value is fine, just a single value. You can right click and choose get data from table. Now this only works with Microsoft M365 for Excel. Okay, so click on get data from table / range. Alright, so our data set is now in the Power Query editor for Microsoft Excel, and that's amazing. We can see the name of the query here, which is F6 data, and of course we can see the applied steps, which this is the source, and we can see the automatic data types, which is this. Okay, now what I'm going to do is simple. Let me just transform this date time default data type to proper date data type, and I can right click and choose change type and choose date, or I can even click on this little icon to the left of the cell and choose date data type. Now the Power Query will prompt whether to replace the current step or to add a new step. Now I prefer to replace the current step, and I can maintain the changed type. Alright, having done that, I need to close and load and create connection in order to bring in the small table in the unique sheet. So click on close and load, not close and load. Okay, I want to choose close and load to, that I want to load to either table, pivot table, and so on. But in the import data wizard, we want to choose only create connection, and then I can click on OK. Now in the queries and connections task pane to the right, I can see the F6 data query, so we can see the parameters and everything. Okay, now I'm going to come to the unique sheet as I said, and we've got this unique payment and the unique brand. Therefore I can right click and choose get data from table / range, or I can use get data from table / range from the get and transform data group. So let me do it from here. Click on that, and that small table will be loaded into the Power Query. By the way, the name of the table is result TBL, and we have the second query in the Power Query editor, which is lovely. Now what I'm going to do is we've got payments here, and we've got payments in the many side. Okay, these are repeated transactions, but these are unique payments. Okay, and we've got brand here, which are unique brand, and we've got many repeated brands here. So in order to make things to be more clearer, I'm going to modify this payment here and call it unique payment. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for brand. I'm going to just modify and call it unique brand. So we've got payment here, and we've got unique payment here. We've got brand here, and we've got unique brand here. That's amazing. So we have the two queries. What I'm going to do next is to reference this many side F6 data set, and to do that I can click on the add column tab. Under the general, I want to choose custom column. Now in the custom column dialog box, I can provide a name for my new column, so I'm going to skip that for now. Let's deal with the custom column formula. So as I said, I want to reference this F6 data, so all I need to do is to type in F6, and we can see in the IntelliSense the name of the query. So press the tab key and then click on OK, and then we can see the table in each of the cell. Let me just move this up. All right, that is lovely. Now what I want to do is simple. I want to filter this F6 data with the unique payment and the unique brand. In other words, I want to use this unique payment to filter these many sides of payments, and I want to use the unique brand to filter the many side of the brand in the F6 data. Now how do I do that? I'm going to come back to the added custom applied step and put it in the edit mode. Okay, and I'm going to leave the column name for now. So I'm going to use a function called table.selectRows m function, and open the parentheses. Now the functions select the rows that meet the condition function, and of course it contains two parameters. The first one is table and the second one is condition. Now this is the table which I have here, so this is satisfied. I'm going to put in a comma and move to the next row for readability's sake. And for the condition here, I'm going to use what is called a defined variable. Now in this case, you can use whatever you want as your variable, but for this example, I'm going to use my special value, and that has to be inside open and close brackets. So open brackets, I'm going to call it my special variable. Okay, then I close the bracket. Now I'm going to use what is called go to operators, which is equal sign and greater than operators. Okay, and then I'm going to pass in my special variable across here. So I'm going to just type in my special, and I can see that in the IntelliSense here, and press the tab key, then use the square bracket. And I want to point, let me just move this to the right. Now, as I said, I want to filter this F6 data with the unique payment and the unique brand respectively. So let's deal with the payment first. Okay, now in the square bracket, I'm going to type in payment and close the square bracket and use equal sign. So I'm checking this many side of payment that is coming from this section. Are you equal to, in square bracket, the unique payment here? Okay, so I'm going to type in unique and I select the payment column, and then I can click on enter. And since we are dealing with two criteria, which are unique payment and unique brand, so let's deal with the unique brand. So I'm going to type in and hold down my control key and click on enter to jump to the next line at the bottom. Now for the second thing I want to deal, I'm going to pass in my special variable one more time. So I'm going to type in my special and then press the tab key and open the square bracket. Now again, I want to check this many side of brand. So I'm going to type in brand, close the square bracket. Are you equal to, inside the square bracket, the unique brand? And then I can click enter and close the table.select rows m function. So close the bracket, and we can see no syntax errors have been detected, and I can click on OK, and that's lovely. So let's verify things. So when I click on this, now we have MasterCard Limousine, and we can see that this has been filtered accurately. We can see MasterCard and Limousine. That's awesome. Let's check Visa card and Rolls-Royce in row number 6, and we can see Visa card and Rolls-Royce. That is lovely. Now I'm going to put the added column custom in the edit mode for the second time. Now what I want to do, since we are interested in aggregating the unit column, I'm going to just type inside the square bracket. I'm going to type in unit, telling me simply means that we are aggregating this unit column in the F sales data query. So I need to close the square bracket, and this will be converted into what is called a list, and you can see that's lovely. So we have the list here, you can check around. All right, so I'm going to click on added custom column for the third time, and finally for now I'm going to use list.sum function. So list.sum. Now the sum has to be in capital letter S. That's very important in order for it to work, otherwise it's going to tell you an error. So open the bracket, and then we can close the list.sum. And of course, let's now rename this. Now I'm going to call this one sum of unit by P and B, that is price and brand. So I click on OK, and that's lovely. So we have the sum of units by price and payment and brand. That's lovely. Let's choose whole number data type. Okay, and we can go ahead and click on home tab. Now again, I'm going to close and load two because we don't want to dump the two tables in an Excel. So I'm going to create connection again and click on OK, and then we have the two queries here. So you can just right click on the result table and choose load to, and then you can load to a table, or you can even use another method. You can just over your mouse on this, and we have what is called three ellipses here. Okay, let me just over here. So we have these three ellipses and choose that, and we have arrays of options, whether to duplicate, reference, match, append, or properties. But we want to load two, and then want to use table. So you can use any of the two methods, and then we can choose. Okay, let's choose this sheet, and then we want to dump it here. So I want to click OK, and that's lovely. We can see the results in the dataset sheet. That's wonderful. Let me just close this queries and connection for now, and let's do the same thing using the sum ifs function. So equal sign sum ifs. Now the sum range will be the unit column, which contains the name of the table, and in square bracket the name of the column. So I can put in a comma here. Now the criteria range 1 will be the many site for payments, comma, and criteria 1 will be the unique payments here in H14 to H21, comma. Now the criteria range 2 rather will be the many site for brand, comma, and then the criteria 2 will be this unique brand. Now I can close the sum ifs function and control enter. That's lovely. We've got the same result. Let's just apply comma, and I want to get rid of the decimals. Let's do the same thing. I want to apply comma, and then want to get rid of the decimal. We achieve the same result. That's amazing. Now let's undo the sum of total, average, marks of total, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to come back to this query and choose query and click on edit. Okay, that will open a Power Query. All right, and let me just come right into this added custom. All right, I want to just borrow this formula in order to speed things up. So Control C, escape, and I can close this custom column. So what I'm going to do next is to click on add column for the second time, choose custom column. Oh, excuse me. Okay, let me just, okay, we have this change type here. All right, let me just click on custom column, and then I'm going to call this one sum of total by P and B, that is payment and brand. So what I'm going to do is to Control V. Now all I need to do is to make a small modification. Everything is still going to work. Okay, we are still dealing with sum. Okay, so I'm going to just delete this unit since we want to aggregate the total column. So I'm going to put in the square bracket and type in total, and then I close the square bracket, and of course this should work. So when I click on OK, we can see the sum of total by payment and brand. That's lovely. Let's do the same thing again. I want to add a new column, custom column, and let's call this one AVG, that is average of total by P and B, and then I'm going to paste the formula once again, and in this case I'm going to use list.average. Okay, and then I'm going to delete this and call this one total column, close the square bracket, and that's beautiful. Let me just copy this, Control C, and then we can click on OK, and then we can see the average. That's lovely. Click on custom column again. Now this is going to be the marks of total by P and B, and then I'm going to paste, and I'm going to just delete and call this on marks, and that's fine. Still on total column, and click on OK. and we can see the highest value within the total for each of the payments and the brand respectively. And finally, for now, I want to choose custom column. I want to call this one mean, that is minimum of total by P and B, and I'm going to paste the formula. I'm going to call this one mean list.mean, still on total column. I'm going to click on OK, and that's lovely. So we are almost done with this Power Query. So let's just apply the appropriate data type. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and select the last column, which is the minimum of total by P and B, and I can right click and choose change type, and I want to choose currency. Okay, and that's fine. So we can go ahead and click on home. I want to choose close and load to, and then we expect the query to expand. Bam, that is amazing. So we have it. So let's just apply currency formatting in Excel worksheet, Control Shift 4, and let's get rid of the decimals. Okay, so we can see the sum of total by payment and brand, average of total by payment and brand, Now let's do the same thing with the worksheet function. So I'm going to just cut this, Control X, and let me just paste here. All right, and let's deal with the worksheet function, and I'm going to come here. So I'm going to use equal sign sum effects function. Now the sum range is going to be F sales, name of the table, then I open the square bracket, and I want to point to the total column. That's going to be the sum range, close the square bracket, comma. The criteria is going to be F sales table, open the square bracket, and I want to point to the payment column, press the tab key, close the square bracket, comma, and I'll get this for the criteria 1, this unique payment in age 14 to age 21, comma. For the criteria range 2, I want to type in the name of the table, F says, press the tab key, and then I want to use the square bracket. I want to point to the brand column, the menu side, close the square bracket, comma. And for the criteria 2, I need this I14 to I21. We don't need to apply F4 key, that's not needed. Okay, all I need to do is to close the parentheses, and then we can Control Enter. That's lovely, amazing. So let's do the same thing for average of total by P and B. Now in order to speed things up, I can borrow this formula, okay, because the average ifs, sum ifs, max, and the main ifs function have the same structure. All I need to do is to change the name of the function. So Control C, escape, and I can Control V the formula here, and I can F2 the formula, and then delete the sum ifs function and just type in average ifs, and that does the magic. Okay, Control Enter. That's lovely. It's spilled to the neighboring cell. This is where the formula actually lives. Okay, same with this and this. These are spill cells. Okay, that's lovely. Now let's do the same thing for max of total. I can F2 and get rid of the sum effects function and type in max ifs and Control Enter. That's lovely. And finally, for now, Control V and F2 to put it in the edit mode. I can get rid of the sum ifs and type in MIN, and I choose main ifs and Control Enter, and that's lovely. So let's apply currency. Control Shift right arrow, Control Shift down arrow key, Control Shift F4 to apply currency, and let's get rid of the decimals in the number formatting. So I get rid of them, and then let's just apply total row here. So I select the range, and in the stars group under the cell stars, I want to choose under the titles and headings just total, and then I can call this one total, and then I can select this empty range and deploy alt equal sign, which is the auto sum. That's lovely. Let's do the same thing for this function base. I can select all these empty rows. I can even do something like this: select numbers and the empty row and deploy this sigma sign in the home tab. Bam, we've got 8,747 units of P and B. Now let me just get rid of this currency here. It has to be let's just use general, no formatting. So okay, let's apply this and get rid of decimals. Okay, we have the same value. Okay, this is 8,747 units sold. That's lovely. And for the worksheet formula, we achieve 8,747. This is 8,747. Now for the sum of total by P and B, that is by price and brand, we've got 11,778,562, and this one is also 11,778,562. And the same thing for max of total by P and B, we have 1,958,557, 1,958,557. That is absolutely classical. So we've been able to use the Power Query to create a classic report, and we replicated the same thing using the. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. This is lovely. So I'm going to see you in the next presentation. Bye for now. Hi there, welcome back to the second part of this presentation. In this second part, I'm going to show some few advanced tips and tricks in PivotTable. So let's roll in. Again, we're going to use the same data set we used in the previous presentation, and of course the data set is stored as an Excel table. So the first tips and tricks I want to share with us is how to permanently change the default report layout in PivotTable. So let's do that. Now, of course, we want to create our first PivotTable report. So click in the data set, and in the insert tab of the ribbon under the tables group, click on PivotTable to the far left of the screen. In the PivotTable from table/range, you can see the name of the table populated automatically, and of course we can choose where we want to dump the PivotTable, whether in a new worksheet, which is default, or the existing worksheet. Now I'm going to go with the existing worksheet, and then we can choose the cell location and then click OK. So we have the PivotTable placeholder to the left and the PivotTable fields to the right. And let's create our simple PivotTable report. So I'm going to take the payment and drop it in the rows, and then we can take the total and drop it in the values areas. Nice and easy, we have our PivotTable report. Now the most annoying thing for me basically is that we have to do some tidying up by renaming these row labels, because by default the PivotTable report operates show in compact form. So what we have to do is basically come to the design tab, which is an extra clicks for me. I don't like that, and choose under the report layout drop down and choose either show in outline or in tabular form. Now I prefer my report to be in tabular form in most cases, and occasionally in outline form, but I don't like this compact form, because with the compact form I can see the name of the field in the rows area. So the best way to deal with this permanently is to go to the back end and alter the settings. Now we'll come to the file tab. At the bottom here we have the options, so click on options, and then we have this Excel options dialog box. Now click on the data tab, and we have make changes to the default layout of PivotTable. So click on edit default layout. So we have a whole lot of options to make changes permanently here, but we want to make changes to report layout, and then I choose the drop down, and of course we can see it operates show in compact form, which is the default, the one at the top, but I'm going to put it in show in tabular form, and then we can click OK, and then we can click OK. Nice and easy. Now let's create another PivotTable report. Okay, so I click in the data set, and then in the insert tab click on PivotTable, and then we can choose in the existing sheet, dump it in cell H15, click OK, and then let's say we want to do brand by total, and that's amazing. We have the descriptive name of the field. Okay, it's no longer row labels, but we have the name of the field, and this is what I love. Nice and easy. Then we can just apply number formatting, currency, just number format, and then we choose currency, and then we can take care of the decimals and click OK. Nice and easy. I love this. Now the second tips and tricks I'm going to share with us is how to change the PivotTable field settings. Okay, now by default the PivotTable fields operate what is called field section and areas section start. Okay, this is what we have by default, but I prefer this field section and areas section side by side. Okay, now this looks more cool and amazing because if you have quite a long list of field, you can easily see them lined up, and of course you can see the areas, filters, rows, columns and values to the right. So that's amazing. Now the third tips and tricks I'm going to share with us is basically called how to show filter pages report. Okay, show report filter pages. Now let me just delete this. Okay, let me delete this PivotTable report. Okay, delete, and then we have this brand. Okay, now let's say we want to create an individual sheet based report for some selected payment type, such as let's say MasterCard and Visa card only. We can easily do that. What I'm going to do is very simple. I take the payment field and drop it in the filter areas. Now in the filter area, we can see this at the top. Now by default, it operates all. Okay, no filter has been applied thus far. So I can actually click on this drop down and choose select multiple items. Now in the multiple items, I can choose the specific payment type I want to create report filter pages on. So I choose MasterCard and click on MasterCard, and let's choose Perfect Money and Visa card. Okay, so click OK. Now we can see multiple items selected. Okay, that's cool. So what I'm going to do next is come to the PivotTable Analyze Contextual ribbon tab, and then under the PivotTable, click on this little drop down, and then we have Show Report Filter Pages. So I click on that, and then we can see the field which is in the filters. Okay, that is payments. Now watch what happens. We can see by default we only have two sheets for now. When I click OK, bam, we have individual sheet for brand by sum of total for MasterCard, brand by sum of total for Perfect Money, and so on. That's amazing. I love that so much. And of course we still have our main report here. Okay, that is amazing. Now the next thing I want to show us is basically called how to report connections on slicer. Okay, so let me just take this out for now, and then let me scroll up. Okay, so let's say I want to actually create another report, PivotTable report. Let me just borrow this control right arrow key, control down arrow key, control C, and then we can control V. Okay, so we have two PivotTable reports. Okay, now let's say I want to insert slicer on this PivotTable report here. All I need to do is basically come to the Analyze tab and click on slicer, and then let's see on payment. We want to slide by payment, and then I click enter or OK, and then we can see. Let me just clear the filter that is have been applied anyway. Now when I choose MasterCard, see what happens. It filtered this report at the top where we created the slicer on, but you can see that it's not connected to this second report, which is also brand by sum of total. Okay, and let's say I want to filter multiple items by holding down the control key and choose Perfect Money. We can see that this automatically updates, but nothing happened to this report at the bottom here because the slicer is only connected to the report at the top here. Now what I'm going to do, very simple, is let me clear the filter for now, and in the slicers contextual ribbon tab, we have this report connection here. Click on that, and then we can choose the name of the PivotTable. Now let me verify. I want to change the name of this. Okay, come to the Analyze, and now this is PivotTable 2. So I have to choose in the slicer. Okay, click on the slicer, and then want to choose PivotTable 2. Now when I place the check mark and click OK, now let's see what happens. Let's filter let's say I want to filter by Visa card. Now the moment I filter, now you can see that the slicer is now connected to the two report, which is amazing. I love that so much. Okay, you can even do multiple selection. You can hold down the control key, and let's want to filter by web money and release the hand. You can see we have the same report. So that is basically how to use report connections on slicer. The same thing works with what is called timeline. Now timeline operates with dates that fields that contains date values. Okay, now the final tips and tricks I want to show is basically how to create what's called running total and percentage of running total. Okay, let me just delete the slicer, I don't need it again, and let's use this. Now I'm going to take the total field and drop it at the bottom here. Okay, and then we have sum of total. Now what I'm going to do is to right click and choose summarize value, show values as, then I'm going to choose running total, and then we can see the field which is brand. So we want to create the running total on brand field and click OK, and then we can apply number format, which is currency, get rid of the decimals and click OK. Now basically this is how running total works. Now we have for brand, we have 7,829,700, which is the same thing. Okay, but the addition of these two, which you can see in the status bar, 15,014,000 plus, is what we have in this current row. Okay, now many times we use this with date values. Okay, I'm just trying to use the text field, which is brand. Okay, so that's how to use the running total. Now we can do the same thing for percentage of running total. So I drop the field again, you can right click and choose show values as percentage of running total, and then click OK. And very importantly, we mustn't forget to tidy things up. Okay, now this name is not descriptive, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the formula bar. I'm going to call this one running total and click enter, and of course we want to call this one percentage of running total. Okay, now it looks more presentable and descriptive. Okay, so these are the few advanced pivot table tips and tricks I want to show us. I hope you enjoyed the tool presentation, and please create time to watch presentation by other speakers. Thank you, and I wish you all the best. Bye.